Ukraine's withdrawal from Pokrovsk, the key city in eastern Donetsk, has shocked international observers and Russia alike. At first glance, it looked like Ukraine giving up ground. But behind this move lies a calculated sacrifice, one that may signal a major tactical shift. A shift designed not just to blunt Russian offensives, but to break Russia's ability to wage war the way it has for the past 4 years. Putin never expected such a short distance to become a deadly trap for his own army. But that assumption proved dangerously wrong. At first, what's unfolding in eastern Ukraine reads like a crushing defeat, a strategic collapse in the Donetsk region, a bitter turning point in a war now stretching into its 5th year. The town of Rodensky, after more than a year and a half of intense combat, has reportedly fallen back into Russian hands, and according to the Kiev Independent reported that scaling up left Ukraine's 7th Corps as one of the very few units still holding positions in the Pokrovsk agglomeration. Picture it, a cluster of once quiet Donetsk townsplaces that used to hum with daily life now reduced to contested ground, battle zones in a grinding conflict that has drained both sides. In late 2025 and early 2026, Russian troops intensified operations around Pokrovsk, a city deep in Donetsk Oblast, long considered a linchpin in controlling the industrial east. Russian forces steadily pressed into the city's outskirts, creating a tactical squeeze. Various intelligence assessments show Russia may now fully control Pokrovsk, though Ukraine disputes full occupation and insists its forces retain control over certain defensive lines. But luring Russian forces deeper, stretching their logistics, and preparing a counterstrike in Zaporizhzhia is shaping the next phase of this grinding conflict. International military analysts are now calling Ukraine's move a tactical repositioning, not a collapse. Why? Because rather than seeking a single decisive blitz-type victory, Ukraine's battlefield approach in many sectors resembles a strategy of attrition combined with operational baiting. This isn't random or accidental, it's informed by hard realities on the ground and the uneven balance of forces. Key elements including Ukraine's battlefield strategy is all about making Russia pay for every inch. First, they draw Russian forces into overextended supply lines, turning long, fragile routes into prime targets for drones, artillery, and ambushes. Next, they invite Russia into tough urban fights. Towns like Kupiansk and fortified areas in Donetsk are death traps for attackers, where defenders can slow them down and inflict heavy losses. And finally, Ukraine strikes where Russia is weakest, hitting supply depots, rail lines, and rear area infrastructure with precision artillery and drones, crippling the enemy's ability to fight. Ukrainian commanders publicly emphasize the value of troop preservation over static defense of towns. Holding every town, analysts say, risks encirclement and catastrophic casualties. Strategic withdrawals, painful as they are, conserve Ukraine's finite manpower and allow deeper planning for counterattacks. Sources found from Zelensky on X stats that report from Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky. Our main focus right now is on the Pokrovsk direction and the Zaporizhzhia region, where the Russians are increasing the number and scale of assaults. The situation there remains difficult, in part because of weather conditions that favor the attacks. But we continue to destroy the occupier, and I thank every one of our units, every warrior involved in defending Ukraine's positions. The situation in Kupiansk is somewhat easier. Our forces have achieved results there, and this has been the pattern for the past few weeks. While the focus has been on Donetsk, another front has quietly emerged as central to Ukraine's future defense and potential counteroffensive. Zaporizhzhia Oblast in southeastern Ukraine has become a theater of intense fight, changing the dynamics of Russia's southern army. Recent reporting shows Russian forces pushing near frontline villages and strategic points, inflicting heavy casualties but failing to achieve a decisive breakthrough. According to Ukraine's General Staff statement, in just the past few weeks, the battlefield hasn't been active, it's been exploding. Ukraine's General Staff reports over 200 clashes every single day, with one staggering peak of 237 engagements in a single day. That's not a frozen front, that's non-stop combat. Now here's the twist. Moscow was betting on a dramatic winter breakthrough, a crushing push that would crack the line open and set up a massive spring offensive. But that gamble? So far, it hasn't paid off. Instead of sweeping gains, Russian forces have absorbed heavy personnel losses without achieving the kind of large-scale breakthrough they were hoping for. The fiercest fighting right now is concentrated along the Pokrovsk, Kostiantynivka, and Huliaipole pressure points where Russia keeps pushing, wave after wave. But despite that pressure, Ukraine hasn't folded. In fact, in the south, especially near Huliaipole and Oleksandrivka, Ukrainian forces have launched sharp, localized counterattacks. Not massive offensives, not flashy headlines, but precise strikes designed to blunt momentum and stop Russia from expanding toward the Dnipropetrovsk region. The hard truth for Moscow is this: whatever ground it has taken around Pokrovsk is territory it was expected to secure long ago. The advance has been painfully slow, almost stagnant, and the city itself no longer holds the same strategic value it once did as a key Ukrainian logistics hub in Donetsk. According to reporting from France 24, Ukraine's recent southeastern counterattack is shaping up to be its fastest and most significant advance in roughly 2.5 years, the kind of momentum the front hasn't seen since the huge summer counteroffensive in 2023. In just a short time leading up to February 16th, Ukrainian forces have recaptured around 201 square kilometers, that's about 78 square miles in the southeast, a figure that roughly equals all the ground Russia managed to take during its December push toward Zaporizhzhia. What makes this even more striking is where that territory sits. Most of the gains have been concentrated about 80 kilometers, or nearly 50 miles, east of Zaporizhzhia city, the very area Russia has tried to press toward for months. What used to be gray zone territory, where neither side clearly held control, is now firmly back under Ukrainian authority. European media's reported that Ukrainian forces pushed Russian troops back about 4.5 kilometers, nearly 3 miles across 3 sectors, near Huliaipole, showing the momentum Ukraine's counteroffensive has building in that area. These advances aren't isolated. They add to gains Ukraine's already made along a roughly 20-kilometer stretch of front between Oleksandrivka and Huliaipole, steadily rolling Russian positions back and squeezing their lines. As a result of that push, Ukrainian troops have reclaimed ground near Ternov, Verbov, and Vishnev, forcing Russian units to give up terrain and harden their defenses. And it isn't just about taking ground. According to Ukraine's Southern Defense Forces spokesperson, reconnaissance operations are actively sweeping the newly freed zones to hunt down Russian infiltrators and secure every inch of liberated territory. And here's a game changer you need to know about. In early February, SpaceX made the move everyone was waiting for. They cut off Russia's access to Starlink by blacklisting the terminals Russia had been using to coordinate long-range drone strikes and frontline communications. According to BBC News Russian, that single decision threw the Russian military into chaos. In war, both sides had been relying on it to quickly share information and coordinate operations. Now, Russia is blind in that regard, while Ukraine still has full access. In fact, Ukraine's terminals were added to a whitelist to make sure they stay fully operational, giving Kyiv a massive edge while Moscow scrambles to cobble together backup communications. If Russia tries to push deeper into Donetsk without access to the convenient communication system that once helped them coordinate their offensives, they're doing it blindfolded. Starlink was a backbone for battlefield communication, and losing it has disrupted Russian operations while Ukraine still rides that technology advantage. Add to that the staggering human cost Russia has absorbed so far, over 1.26 million Russian troops lost since the invasion began. The number includes 1,070 casualties that Russian forces suffered over the past day. According to Ukraine's general staff, and you begin to see just how badly Moscow's offensive machine has been worn down by casualties that far exceed anything they anticipated. Talking about why Zaporizhzhia matters so much in this war, and why letting Russia roll unchecked through that region would be far worse than just another territorial loss. If Russia were allowed to steamroll deeper into Zaporizhzhia, it wouldn't just be a symbolic victory. It would mean giving Putin unrestricted access to a huge chunk of Ukraine's supply lines and infrastructure. That's roughly a quarter of the country's lifeline, and losing it would cripple Ukraine's ability to defend and resupply forces further west. Throughout the winter, Moscow piled on the pressure in the Zaporizhzhia front, grabbing ground and threatening to turn the region into a stepping stone toward bigger gains. But Ukraine's counteroffensive has managed to reverse much of that momentum, steadily clawing back territory and slowing down Russian advances. Experts have pointed out how close Russia's artillery came to being able to shell Zaporizhzhia city itself, a move that could have opened the door to brutal bombardment like we've seen in other Ukrainian cities. According to Ukraine's own commanders, the Russian offensive has never really let up. It's been constant pressure since late 2023. But here's the thing, Russia still has not captured Zaporizhzhia city, and that's exactly what Ukrainian leaders want. Zaporizhzhia is huge. It had more than 700,000 residents before the war, and even now there may still be up to 500,000 people living there. Holding it isn't just symbolic, it's strategic. Now, thanks to its counteroffensive, Ukraine has bought itself both time and space to fortify its positions. The moves it's made aren't just tactical, they're strategic. Russia's southern army is set to be shattered, and its forces in Donetsk are running on fumes after being stretched to the limit. With this bold move, Ukraine might have just paved the way for a total strategic edge against Russia in 2026. And while all of this unfolds on the front lines, Ukraine's drones are evolving into even more precise, lethal tools, turning every sortie into a potential game changer. The stage is set, the pieces are in motion, and if Ukraine keeps playing this hand right, the coming months could reshape the entire battlefield, and possibly the course of the war itself. Let's see what's coming.